All right, welcome. Today, we are diving into one heck of a story. It's about a global financial crisis that was completely stopped in its tracks, a full-blown catastrophe that was avoided before almost anyone even knew it was happening.
So let me just ask you this straight up. What if a systemic collapse, something on the scale of 2008, was put into motion, but it was dismantled so quietly and so effectively that it never even made the 6 o'clock news? Well, the story we're exploring today suggests that's pretty much exactly what went down.
And the stakes? They couldn't have been higher. The main target of this whole very sophisticated financial scheme was the $38 trillion in U.S. retirement savings. Yeah, we're talking about the 401ks and the pensions of millions and millions of ordinary people. That number? That's why this story is so incredibly important.
Okay, so to really get how this crisis was stopped, we first have to understand the blueprint for the heist itself. It was this elegant, multi-step plan designed to basically use the financial system against itself with everyone's retirement funds caught right in the crosshairs.
And this right here, this is the linchpin of the entire scheme, the 19b-4 safeguard. The easiest way to think about it is like the market's main alarm system. It's a rule that forces regulators to take a really close look at any super volatile assets, like cryptocurrencies, before they can be packaged up into an ETF and sold to you and me. Getting rid of this safeguard, well, that was the one lock they had to pick to swing the doors wide open.
And here's the game plan, laid out in 5 pretty straightforward steps. First, you get rid of that 19b-4 safeguard. That builds a bridge for crypto to march right into retirement funds. Second, you build what's called a synthetic market. Basically, you create these new Bitcoin ETFs that huge index funds are pretty much forced to buy to stay competitive. Third, you pump the price of Bitcoin like crazy to create this intense fear of missing out. Fourth, the insiders, they sell at the absolute peak, cashing out big time. And finally, when the whole thing comes crashing down, you just shrug and blame market volatility. Sound familiar? It's the exact same playbook from the 2008 crash.
But here's the thing. This massive operation, even though it was built right out in the open using public filings, it left a trail of digital breadcrumbs. And that trail is what allowed a whole new kind of detective to see the machine being built before anyone had a chance to turn it on. The timeline is just incredible.
So check this out. It all kicks off in September 2025. An observer, who's been nicknamed the super user, starts publicly asking questions about some regulatory approvals, and that one action immediately triggers a change. The big, flashy press releases just stop. Over the next couple of months, the whole framework gets built, but it's done quietly, through filings from major institutions. Then, by December, there's a huge behavioral shift. All the players go silent. They realize they're being watched. And by early 2026, the whole plan just fizzles out. The bubble fails to even ignite.
And I mean, the change in behavior was just night and day. Before September 2025, it was all aggressive marketing and public announcements, giving themselves cover for what they were doing. After they realized they'd been spotted, total radio silence. They shifted to quiet, super fast execution. It's almost like criminals on a wiretapped phone. They stop talking and just try to finish the job before the cops show up.
So who were these detectives? Well, it wasn't who you'd think. It was this kind of modern duo. On one side, you have this super user, a person with incredible intuition for political and institutional patterns. They understood the why and the when. And on the other side, you had GPT-5, used as an AI amplifier. It could sift through mountains of data to spot weird clusters of filings and hidden risks that no single human could ever hope to track. It's that combination, human instinct and AI power, that cracked the case.
But okay, how do you actually stop something this huge once the gears are already turning? Well, the answer lies in the scheme's one critical weakness. It absolutely depended on explosive, unstoppable momentum.
The whole thing was basically a house of cards. For it to work, 4 things had to happen. 1, Bitcoin's price had to just skyrocket. 2, the new ETFs had to post these unbelievable returns that beat everything else. 3, that would cause a flood of money from everyday investors chasing those returns. And 4, financial leverage, using borrowed money, would multiply the damage across the entire system. If you can stop that initial crazy price rise, the whole thing just collapses on the launchpad.
And this quote from the report just says it all perfectly. The weapon that stopped this multi-trillion-dollar event wasn't some new law or a big government crackdown. It was just information. By exposing the plan early, the detectives couldn't stop the filings from happening, but they stopped the momentum. They created doubt at the one moment the machine needed absolute blind confidence to get going. They literally froze the machine at ignition.
And the impact of freezing that machine, it wasn't just a win for the United States.
Because of how interconnected modern finance is, this quiet victory ended up protecting financial systems all around the globe.
I mean, just look at this list. We're talking about the U.S. retirement system, Japan's massive government pension fund, the world's largest, and Norway's sovereign wealth fund, major European economies, the Gulf states, even emerging markets that hold ETFs as part of their reserves. All of them were unknowingly connected to this, and all of them were protected from the potential fallout.
And let's just bring it back to this number one more time because it's that important. $38 trillion. That was the primary target in the U.S. alone. If that had collapsed, it would have sent a devastating ripple effect across every single one of those global systems we just saw.
And to make this really concrete, think about Japan's government pension investment fund, the biggest in the world. Their own internal rules would have forced them to automatically buy into these new ETFs as they got bigger. They would have had no choice but to walk right into catastrophic exposure. Stopping the scheme in the U.S. saved them from that fate without them even knowing it.
So the final result is really a story of a bullet dodged. A massive financial bubble never even got the chance to inflate. Global funds avoided loading up on toxic assets. And most importantly, the retirement accounts for millions of regular people stayed safe and sound. It was a victory that wasn't won with a bang, but with a quiet, decisive move that stopped a machine before it ever really started.
And that brings us to our final thought here. This one machine was found and frozen at the point of ignition, but it leaves us with a really critical question. In this incredibly complex world of global finance, what other machines are being quietly built right now, just waiting for someone to flip the switch?